Hello, I'm Robin Boyce, and welcome to City Corner. Come on back. We've got a lot of great information about the health of St. Louis and Ferguson moving forward. Hi there, I'm so glad you could stick with us on this episode of City Corner. We've got a lot of great information coming up in the next 20 minutes or so, and I hope you hang around and see what's going on in the St. Louis community. First off, I want to introduce to you the Acting Director and Commissioner of Health, Ms. Melba Moore for the City of St. Louis. How are you, Ms. Melba?
Fine, how are you?
So glad we could finally get together and get you here to talk about some of the good things that the health department has been doing. Talk with us about it. The health department many years ago was a kind of a different animal. We actually had clinics, because I remember as a child going down to where the civil court, well, the old civil municipal building is, and getting shots, getting those needed shots. And then there was the hospitals that we had, Homer Phillips, Starclough. Then there was regional, was probably the last piece that we had with reference to medicine and dealing with medical like that. Now it's a different kind of an entity. Tell us about those changes.
Yeah, we are different. We're a core functions public health agency where we assure, assess, and develop policy. We work with our community partners. We recognize that we can't do this alone. You can't do it in isolation. You have to work with your partners. So I have partners for my youth programs. I have partners if it's related to sexually transmitted infections for my adults. We have a partnership with Dr. Sunny Sager. We have a partnership with SPOT for our young people where they can go, where they meet them where they are. And see, that's important. We have to understand the dynamics have changed. We need to meet people where they are. We need to be more convenient, user-friendly, and the partners that we have are just that, very user-friendly.
SPOT, tell us about that. That's a teenage place.
That's a
where
teenage
folks can
clinic
go.
For our young people.
Is it around the Barnes Jewish area?
Over in Laclede.
Okay.
In the Central West End, and they provide services for youth 13 to 24. And then Dr. Sager has a facility downtown, and then we have one, North City Urgent Care, which is up north on Ridge, and that's for our adult population to go in to receive services, clinical services.
That's so important, and then one thing we were talking about before we went on air, education is paramount for you with reference to what this department does. Tell us about that.
So education, a part of the core functions to public health and the essential services, informing the community is one of the key areas that we have to inform our community. People don't know what they don't know. Our role is to take that information to the community, to where they are. Meet people where they are. Give them the services that they need. Help them navigate those services and understand what's there for them. You can't expect people to just arbitrarily wake up and say, okay, I'm going to find me a service.
Right.
Well, if they don't know where that is.
Right.
So we're downtown, and we want to make sure you can come downtown to inquire. You can go to our health institute and get educational information, or you can come downtown and get a permit for a food establishment. Okay. Because we do maintain those.
So so that department maintains the
definitely environmental health. That's an environmental health program where we have our food permits. We have community sanitation, where we have community sanitarians that go out in the community and assess what's going on in the community in that neighborhood. For instance, in the 25th Ward last year, we had our community sanitarians go out and assess that neighborhood. We had a lot of rain last year. Yes. And what we wanted to do is to prevent anyone from being coming in contact with West Nile. So we went into that neighborhood, went into that community and did an assessment to talk to the community about what they could do to eliminate standing water. Here we come, another year, and we're dealing with Zika virus. Yes. And the thing with Zika is it's about education. We have to, from an environmental perspective, look at the environment. Do you have screens on your windows? Do you have standing water? We need to eliminate those standing water sources. Do you have tires in your yard? You need to get rid of those tires. Eliminate those, because those are sources for the mosquitoes to breed.
There's almost simple things that people don't realize that they have sitting out in their backyards, on the back porch.
A bird bath.
Exactly.
If you're going to have a bird bath, change that water daily. If not, remove the water. Swimming pools. People love their swimming pools in the summertime. Maintenance is very important. But if you're not, cover it up and make sure that that standing water is eliminated. That usually lodges on the top of those covers, those pool covers. Make sure that's eliminated. And usually that happens, it collects there after we've had a heavy rain. So just remove that, because you want to be aware and know what you should be doing. If you're going to be out in the summertime, spray yourself with DEET. And that's a repellent to keep the mosquitoes away. You know, and I always say about summertime, because St. Louis has really hot summers. So we want to dress cool. So start getting your wardrobe together for this summer. You know, light, cool clothing. Avoid sodium, heavy sodium, you know, from a health perspective. Salt is not good. We need to eliminate that from our diet. You know, drink plenty of water, you know, to hydrate yourself. But more importantly, if you're going to be out in the sun, short breaks, wear a hat, but make sure you're dressed appropriately.
Your department has done a good job with that, especially around the time when it gets really hot outside.
Yes.
You get out the heat warnings, you tweet them out, you Facebook them out, you let the community know you've got some issues here. Here are some cooling centers that you can come to. Water is exactly what you need. So you all do a very, very good job in letting the community know, hey, there are alternatives to what you're dealing with here in this heat, because it gets hot in St. Louis.
It does, and I don't want to overlook the fact that we need to be good neighbors to our neighbors. So check
especially
on the
seniors.
Elderly. Check on our seniors. See how Miss Johnson is doing. Just knock on the door. You know, you live next door to her, knock on the door and see how she's doing. You know, so make sure that when in those extreme weather temperatures that we have in St. Louis, that she has enough water, she has enough sustenance there to eat. And again, I can't stress enough that we need to avoid sodium. High sodium is not good for us, and we need to eliminate that from our diet.
What I like hearing what that you do at the health department is that you all push a village kind of a concept, which is really important for our communities to continue to change, because we're seeing them changing. You not only deal with those kinds of issues, but you're also dealing with the crime issue as well. You've taken it on and have many years ago. I was involved with a project with you with reference. It was called Stride. You looked at crime and a murder in the community being a health issue.
Yes, our community told us that when we did our community health needs assessment, and I cannot, you know, I like my community because they give me information about what I should be doing and how I should be doing it, and they said that. And what I want to come back to that community in those 15 neighborhoods and to let them know, okay, so here's the public health agency. Here's what we do. We want to bring services in to you, and we want to make it fun. We want to share what are the health conditions in that community. Is it obesity? Is it asthma? Is it lead? What's going on there, so that we can share that information and route you to the right services so you can get to services. We're bringing Citizen Service Bureau in too with us when we come into the neighborhood, because what we want to do is engage the community in reporting what they see. So that information gets routed to all those city agencies, and we can come back out and address the issue, whatever that issue is. But more importantly is to make the community aware of what exists in their community, what resources are there for them. We have the alderpersons engaged. I'm excited about it because spring and summer is my time of year. So we're starting this May 14th. We're going to be at the O'Fallon Center. And what we've done is we've clustered the neighborhoods around a rec center, so it can be fun for the community to come out. We're going to have a little bit of food, a little healthy food for the kids and families that come out. Of course, they'll have water there, pushing apples. You want to have fruit there as well.
That's a great center over there.
But it's awesome. Nice. It's nice, and we're going to capitalize on using all of as many rec centers that we can, so that the young people can go there. June the 4th, we're going to have another event. We're going to be at Marquette, and that's really kids kicking it off because the pool will be open.
Right.
So we want everybody to come out, and we're trying to make sure that I'm working with the alderpersons on that, so we can see if, you know, each neighborhood and each ward and each community is just a little different.
Yes.
So we want to put that spin on there so that we can highlight what's going on in the community, so people will come out and will engage with one another.
But you, again, you have always done a good job with the outreach over there. You talked about partners that you have out in the community. I recently had the group, the Teenage Partnership, the Teen Partnership on. They said they have a very good relationship with the City Health Department and St. Louis County. And they discussed the fact that teen pregnancy is down. What is the STD and the HIV situation looking like in the city of St. Louis?
Well, I wish I could report that our sexually transmitted diseases are down. But don't be faint at heart. We're working on that. We're taking a different approach. I was just sharing with one of the panelists who are going to be on a little later that we're going to have a focus group. And I want to know, not from adults, we talk to adults all the time,
right?
But I want to know from our young people. What do you think? What should we be doing? What should it look like? What should the program look like? How should we be doing that? Who should we be engaging? What should the message be so that we can get their information, engage them in this process, because the rates are among our young people between the ages of 13 and 24.
Wow.
So why not go to them?
Wasn't that the way SPOT was created?
Yes.
There was an engagement in the community first? Yeah.
Yes. So ask them what they think. And this is also an opportunity where we identify some leaders, maybe to be in public health, but to participate in a youth summit that we're going to have next year with some other partners. And I can't leave here without saying what's different is that the city health department and the county health department, we've recognized a long time ago, but it has never been said.
Okay.
Skinker doesn't divide us. Skinker brings us together. So we're working together on programming. We've identified several opportunities for us to work on. They're going to be engaged and involved with us as it relates to these focus groups that we're going to have and identifying the young people. And the other thing, Ferguson didn't divide us.
No.
It was a bridge to let us all know, to give us a wake-up call that we're all in this community and we all need to be working together and utilizing our resources better. So it is, I believe in the village. And if I don't share what I know, you won't know what you need to know. So it's important that I share and that you share, and we just make that go around in that circle so it comes full circle so that we have a better opportunity.
So doesn't that make that a stronger community then, a stronger
Most
region
definitely.
when you start moving in that direction
Yes.
to make things happen and in an educational point of view and a healthy point of view,
Yes.
Looking at a future that is positive.
Yes.
Instead of always talking about the bad things. Oh God, this is up, that's up, we got to get this together. Yeah, it's happening, but then guys, how do we do this?
How do we
fix
do
it?
that?
You know, what do we do? Well, I'm glad to hear that you're engaging the community or continuing to always. You've always done that very well, and I'm sure that we've got some really good things coming up down the line in the next year or so.
I'm excited.
I am too. I'm
very
very excited
about the
Thank you for
possibility.
coming on. You got to come on back.
Okay.
Got to come back.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on City Corner. We'll be right back with Ferguson Forward.
Hi, my name's CJ. A few years ago, my father became seriously ill. I did what I could do before he passed, but it took its toll. I lost my job, my house. I'm getting back on my feet, but I don't know when there'll be food on the table. How'd I do, CJ?
We could be twins.
Well, cousins, maybe.
Play a role in ending hunger. Visit feedingamerica.org/hunger and find your local food bank.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Welcome back to City Corner. I'm Robin Boyce, and we've got some really good information coming your way right now, something that I've been trying to get on the air with City Corner for some time, what's going on in Ferguson and how they are moving forward. In the studios with me right now, Ms. Felicia Pulliam, who is Director of Policy and Community Engagement with Focus St. Louis. Also with her is Ms. Nicole Hudson, who's the lead catalyst for Forward Through Ferguson. Thank you, ladies, for coming through and talking to us today about what's going on. You all were involved with the Ferguson Commission, correct?
Yes.
So that had to have been a momentous project. That
That's one way of describing
it. I bet. But I was glad to see it happen.
Oh, absolutely.
It was overdue and needed, like everything that's been going on, but I think it's one of the positive buds that have come out of the whole Ferguson unrest and the revolution that we saw happen and around August 9th, 2014. Tell us, Felicia, lead us into the discussion on the changes in policy that you see coming up. What's going to happen as we move forward in Ferguson?
Well, thank you for having me, Robin. I am really excited to have been a member of the Ferguson Commission and proud of that work. The first thing I'd like to do is urge everybody to read the report.
Yes.
It is an excellent report.
Well
it is
done.
a policy document.
Well done.
And what it lays out is information that the community needs to have to understand actually what is going on in our community, why there was unrest, why we need changes, and then identifies things that we can do. A lot of people haven't taken time to read the report. They think these reports are boring and statistical.
This one is not boring.
It
this is a really good read. It really is. It really is a good read. It really takes people, like you said, it makes you understand what the problems are. A lot of us already know that, but to see it in writing as a document for the world to really witness and look at, and that this was information that didn't just come from professors or folks who were hired to put something together. This came from the community.
It absolutely did. It absolutely did. So the first thing that we understood was that we were going to have to listen to learn, and that the expert is the person that is living the experience. And so having those established content experts that we recognize, the PhDs that are doing the research, but having the voices of the people that are living the experience to bring it into context for us. So you understand how this research applies to an actual human being's life, why we're calling for these policy changes, how they impact people. And so that was a great piece of the work. And now we are looking forward to how do we get this done?
Wow.
How do we get it done? And in the city of Ferguson, now that the consent decree has been approved by the council, the next step is that the community gets to provide testimony at a public hearing so that the federal judge that will be monitoring the implementation of the requirements of the consent decree can learn from community what they want, what they're looking for, how to be engaged, and that'll happen next week. And what the role of the monitor will be. And there's also a neighborhood policing steering committee that's been established that our community members and impacted people have been meeting regularly to talk about how to improve police-community relationships. And so there's a lot that's going on still in Ferguson, in addition to the implementation that is happening in our region in response to the Forward Through Ferguson report from the Ferguson Commission.
It's like I said, it's a very good report. Nicole, your role in this as a catalyst in moving things forward. Tell us about that.
So for the commission, I was the communications director. And as the commission was sunsetting, the community made it clear that they weren't ready for some of the muscles that the community had started to exercise during the commission process, the radical listening, the being unflinching, the centering the person who's experienced at the center and overlaying that into the research. People didn't want to see that go away. And so the commission's final act was to create an organization named after the report called Forward Through Ferguson. We are in the process of applying for a 501c3 status. We have a fiscal sponsor.
Okay.
The United Way is our fiscal sponsor. They were the fiscal sponsor for the commission.
Right.
And we saw an opportunity to build an organization that was function over form. So the functions that we heard the community say, we need these functions. We need an independent home for this work to continue to be community-led, to continue to be unflinching, to be not business as usual.
Right.
That was what required the form of creating an organization in the 501c3. So I always say, you know, we're not here to become a 100-year organization with a giant building.
Exactly.
We're here to facilitate the functions that the community asks for. So as catalysts, we aren't here to do the work like the commission. We're here to see where there's already momentum, where there are already people around these issues. A lot of the issues, all of the issues in the research that made its way into the report made its way there because people were embedded in and already doing a lot of this work.
Right.
And so what the report does and what Forward Through Ferguson platform or sort of infrastructure allows is for us to not forget how we came together and not forget how we radically collaborated to come up with this policy document and to help people kind of continue the work of working through how to work differently together and how to see how individuals and how programmatic work can have impact on policy that might seem untouchable, but how we can work together to move policy through the activities that we're all already doing.
So this can be a group now that can influence policy with policymakers?
To help people position to perhaps influence policy. So a perfect example is the recent work group report for the municipal courts to the Supreme Court of Missouri.
Sure.
So the Supreme Court of Missouri appointed a working group who came together to take a version of the look at things that some organizations had already taken, but they felt was more of an official sort of internal look. And they came out with a report, and because Forward Through Ferguson was still around, we were able to take their report and put it up against the commission's report and recommendations and say, here's where there are gaps, here's where there are differences of opinion, here's where things could be approached a little bit differently, as opposed to having that just be living in the document or sitting in a document somewhere. There's a living organization to say, well, this is what the people said, to sort of remind us, this is what the people said, this is what this research said, we understand where you're coming from, but here's where there's still a gap and we still will not have solved this issue. So being able to arm people with the information to become part of pushing policy. As a 501c3, we can't lobby or endorse anybody.
That was going to be my next question.
Exactly.
Too, so,
we won't do, and honestly, to take on that would be sort of business as usual. So the new version, the innovation is to try to, I say, infect people with the virus of the information to, in their own spaces and places, be armed with similar language, background information, how things are connected, so that they in their own places can take on that work and live on and pass that on.
It's a great educational process, and everything that you all went through step by step. There were how many meetings? Close to?
I think 70 plus.
70 plus meetings,
Total.
and they were in all parts of the region.
Yes.
There wasn't one place that was not touched in some kind of way.
Absolutely.
And I understand from several of the meetings that it got kind of heated in some areas. People were, a lot of folks were very excited about what was going on and felt very good about it. Others felt like, what we're doing is it's going to be the same old thing over and over again. But what I think successfully has happened is that you at least have gotten a group of people together and information from the community that's really going to make a difference, don't you think?
And I believe that people want to be engaged. And so, as Nicole said, when the commission was sunsetting, it was obvious that there was momentum, there was traction, there was a lot of energy in community, and people are actually ready to do the difficult work and make the changes. So what we recognize is that there is no entity, that there's no human being that's getting up every single day, looking across the landscape broadly to connect the dots, connect the people, encourage the collaboration, encourage the innovation, encourage the culture of trying so that the work can get done. So it's really important that we have an entity that continues to stand up and be a resource for community as they continue the work. So Forward Through Ferguson isn't doing the work, the commission isn't doing the work, it's a heavy lift for the entire community.
Yes.
It's just the necessity of facilitating it.
Good. So to Ferguson Forward, Ferguson through, what is it?
Forward
Through Ferguson. We'll have a board?
Yes.
And
they
an
will have a
executive
board.
director?
Yes.
And all.
So as the current situation is that we took former commissioners.
Sure.
Of Felicia is one of. We have 5 former commissioners who are serving as our interim board.
Okay.
And right now we're in the process of designing, in the spirit of the commission, a process by which we develop a founding board that has
Very
input
good.
from community and has representation across different sectors of the community. That's a varied table that can come together and lead the work. And one of the things that the work that we've done with the former commissioners is to really solidify that Forward Through Ferguson's come from or lens is around racial equity. So the subtitle of the report is A Path Toward Racial Equity. And we made that the subtitle of the report because we knew if we didn't put it in the title of the report, people would skip that part.
Really?
And we see that. People are like, oh, these education calls are really great, and these transportation calls are really great. And we're like, well, what about the racial equity piece? And they're like, oh, whatever. Let's just focus on, this thing. But one of the things that was clear through the work of the commission is that these disparities that we have
Yes.
are clear and consistent.
Yes.
And if we don't, diagnosis determines treatment. And so if we're not treating the disparities that we have, that we've had for 50 plus
Yeah.
years that have not moved and some have
Exactly.
gotten worse,
Yes.
we will be in the same place 50 years from now.
Right.
So I understand people don't like to necessarily talk about it, but when you can show me that it's random who graduates from high school and it's random what the infant mortality rates are and it's random who's in poverty, then we can stop talking about race. But until then, we've kind of got to deal with it.
And that's why we haven't made any progress, right? Because people don't want to have this really difficult conversation because it's hard. We're not here to blame anybody
No,
for
not
the
at all.
condition.
Not at
We're
all.
saying look at the condition, let's have the conversation, let's develop some strategies to fix it so that we don't have these disparities in our region. It's not only costing us in terms of the culture of our community and the way that we live as human beings, actually live, but it's costing real dollars. We have a remarkable economic opportunity here to the tune of $14 billion. So there's a lot of reasons that people should plug into this conversation, join us, and do this very difficult work. It's a win-win for everyone.
It's win-win for everybody.
Everyone.
It's a win-win for Ferguson, the region, the world, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely.
And being able to look at this small little bedroom community and what they did. They had an explosion that was overdue, and people came
Absolutely.
together. They came up with some solutions to massage it, fix it, manipulate it to make it right, and we're going to continue to move forward. So I really, really appreciate the work that you've done, and I know you've heard that from many, many people, but this is a good work, and I'm glad to see that it's happening. You're more than welcome to come back anytime to City Corner to talk more about what you're doing, if you want to update people on what you all are doing, and if you need any support from us, we're here for you. I really do
thank
appreciate the work you're doing, and you know what? It's just overdue for St. Louis, so we're moving forward. I thank you so
we
much.
are.
Thank you so much for joining us here at City Corner. I'm Robin Boyce, so have an awesome, awesome week, and I'll see you next time.